Testing 1, 2 for the news crews. Can you hear me? Getting a signal? Excellent.
Folks, if we get ready to take a seat, we'll start in just a couple of minutes. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joshua Rubenstein. I'm a captain with the Cosumnes Fire Department, which is up in the Sacramento region. And I am one of approximately 70 public information officers that are working on your behalf. And I must say it's a privilege to do so. A couple of housekeeping things, if you don't mind. Would you please silence your phones so we can avoid any interruptions? And then if you need to use a restroom, they're up the hallway and to the exterior in the lobby. The women's on my left and the men's are on my right. A couple of quick thank yous. It would be irresponsible of us not to thank the Santa Barbara Unified School District and specifically Fran Wegenek for allowing us to use this facility. I want to throw a shout out to Woody and Will, our AV technicians. They've been here and their colleagues every day since we started doing this thing 8 or 9 days ago. And Joe Black, our sign language interpreter. We're going to utilize the same format that we have over the past 8 or 9 days. We're going to have our speakers speak to you about the incident. We'll take 9 questions, specifically 9, 3 from each section, and then we'll do a breakout session where you can approach an individual if you need to ask a specific question to a specific need. And that being said, I'd like to introduce Jeff Pemberton. He's a chief with CAL FIRE.
Good evening. I've got my voice back almost completely, so thank you for bearing with me over the last couple days. I'll give you a situational update. We're at 269,000 acres, 40% contained. We had no significant runs today. What you're seeing is burning that's happening off of Highway 33 on the northeast corner. Cost to date's $117 million. And I want to share two photos with you that I went out and got the opportunity to drive down Highway 192. This is at Parma Park, looking towards the northwest. This is one of the spots that firefighters were dealing with above the canyon that we were so concerned, and one of the reasons why we felt that it was absolutely necessary to get you folks out of harm's way. And thank you again for cooperating and understanding that removing you out of that area allows us to focus on that firefight so we can put all resources into that and don't have to worry about your health and safety. The next one is another photo, if we can zoom in on the house on the top right. It's Mountain Drive. Up a little bit more to the left, I believe. There we go. It's hard to see, but this right here is another spot that burned all the way around this home. What you guys do during the summer months and early spring by being able to provide defensible space for us allows our firefighters to have all the odds stacked in their favor. There's some things we can't control, the wind, the topography, where you put your home. But with your help and being able to do those defensible space measures allows us a fighting chance to be able to safely operate under the conditions. We're so often we talk about the destroyed homes within the burn area, and we're going to get into that a little bit more with one of the other presenters. But we have so many hundreds, if not thousands, of homes that we have saved, and this is just an example of your firefighters hard at work to protect your community.
Good evening. My name is Rocky Oplager. I'm one of the incident commanders, deputy incident commander for California National Team 4, one of the unified commanders with Command Team, CAL FIRE Team 4, and California National Team 4. I'm going to talk a little bit about yesterday's fire activity, but before I do that, there's really a special thanks to the citizen of the affected area, those in Montecito, Santa Barbara City, those that listened to the evacuation orders, the difficult job that the sheriff and CHP in maintaining those roadblocks. And with that implementation, the success of the firefighters were based on the folks that were out of that area that allowed us to get in and do the job they needed to do. If we can pull up that map of the run yesterday. This is a progression fire map. Yesterday, that run, many of us thought it was about 4,000 acres. That run yesterday was 11,189 acres. That's larger than the Sherpa fire last year.
Tell me the number again.
Yeah, 11,189 acres. Where measured wind gusts of 65 miles an hour occurred. And I've really got to tell you about the plan. We've talked about the plan that was developed by your cooperating agencies, the fire agencies, the law enforcement, and that was implemented yesterday. And the local knowledge of the local fire departments, the county fire, those folks that were able to take the out-of-area resources to go in there. And when you take a look at that map, you see all those little black dots. That's where we had active firefight yesterday, door to door, house to house, road to road, of over 1,300 immediate threat structures, of which the DEMS, or damage assessment teams, came in that less than 12 structures were either damaged or destroyed. Without a single civilian accident, because the folks weren't there, or firefighter and law enforcement incident of any kind as far as an accident. And that's a testimony both to the relationships that you have, that you're fortunate to have, and the expertise that allowed the out-of-area resources that we mobilized based on a plan that had been developed and implemented, going door to door, effectively, basically saving the community. Thank you.
I told you Rocky was a good speaker, didn't I? Okay, Chris Childers with the Santa Barbara County Fire Department. I'm a battalion chief with the department, so I do have some local knowledge. I've been here a few days. And we had a great day yesterday, didn't we? So, I told my boss I'd get up here and take a bow because those guys that work for us on the hill, there was, as Rocky said, a serious firefight yesterday. And, oh boy, that fire really wanted to come down that hill, and it did. And so when it came down the hill, am I talking too fast? Okay. It came down the hill really, really fast, and right at shift change, we were sending resources in and coordinating. It worked, and everything came together at the perfect time, and we saved a lot of homes. So it was a very good day. Let me see if I can point out exactly what happened. We'll focus in a little so we can see it a little bit better. They finished the firing operation back here, and this now is a lot more black into the burn up here. There's a big island next to Pendola, but we think we can line that and hold it nicely. They're working, this part's done pretty much, and they're working these slops and the new slop up here over the Camino Cielo, working today, having a lot of good luck. Now, I got to admit, there's still a lot of work to be done on this hill. There's still smokes all over the place. We'll be chasing smokes for at least a couple of days. The benefit is the chaparral tends to burn out quickly, and when it's as dry as it is right now, it is burning out quickly. So it won't be a month. We'll get this tied off, and of course you can see where it came into the... Okay, remember this gray stuff here is the... down here is the T fire, and right here above that is the Jesucita fire, where it came past Mission Canyon and over into here. And as we had planned, the guys that made this plan, we all agreed on it. We were hoping those younger fuels would hold. And remember, I couldn't count on hope, but the younger fuels did not burn nearly as well when they lost the wind last night. They went out nicely, and now we're jumping on all of those spot fires that the chief just showed you up in here, across Gibraltar Road, and up in here there's a couple. And we've got a lot of work to do, but a lot of good work has been done, and so we're pretty happy with that whole product. And the best part is now we know we have younger fuels to this side, so we don't have a lot to burn now for a while. So anyway, any questions, come and see me afterwards. But the guys did a great job, so we're happy. We're real proud of those guys.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sheriff Bill Brown from Santa Barbara County, and I'm going to talk to you about the sheriff's mission, which is to facilitate evacuations, provide warnings, and to provide security for evacuated areas. The evacuation areas, the mandatory evacuation areas, have not changed. And we still have between 16,000 and 17,000 people who are under mandatory evacuation order. The voluntary evacuation order did change as of 2 o'clock, and we still, at this point, have about 30,000 people who are under that voluntary evacuation order. The area was lifted for some areas of Carpinteria, and I'm going to explain that to you. I have been told that some people are having a lot of difficulty understanding north, south, east, and west in our community. And especially if you're new to Santa Barbara, if you're driving north on the 101 freeway and you're actually going west, it can be confusing. So for the sake of this description, just think that north is the direction towards the mountains, south is the direction towards the ocean, west would be the direction towards Goleta, and east would be the direction towards Carpinteria or the South County line. The voluntary evacuation order areas that were lifted include north of State Route 192, that's Foothill Road, in the southern boundary of the Los Padres National Forest, in between Cravens Lane and Casitas Pass Road. The evacuation order remains in place inside the Los Padres National Forest, but the populated areas of those zones are now opened. The evacuation order was also lifted for the area north of 192 to East Camino Cielo, in between Casitas Pass Road and the Santa Barbara and Ventura County line. and also north of Highway 101 and south of SR 192 in between Cravens Lane and Casitas Pass Road. All the other areas that we have discussed over the last several days and that are on the evacuation map are still in effect. And we know that there's a great deal of anxiety, frustration, expense for people who are evacuated. And we recognize that, and we are working with the Fire Command to get people back into their homes as rapidly as possible and as soon as it is safe to do just that. But as you heard earlier, this is still not a contained fire. And there's always the possibility that winds change and that fire can move very, very rapidly. And as you can see on this map, the fire is really just a few miles from many of the populated area as the crow flies. And it's got a history in this fire of having moved very rapidly in the early days. 15 miles one day, 9 miles another in just 12 hours. So that's the reason that we are concerned and we are wanting to make sure that your safety is assured if you're in an evacuated area. So despite the fact that conditions have improved greatly, we still expect days of activity on this fire and the accompanying danger ahead. It's a very stubborn fire. Please do not let your guard down or be complacent. If you are in the evacuation warning area, as we've been mentioning all along, please be packed up and ready to go at a moment's notice. You should have a plan on where you're going to go. You should have your car gassed up. You should have your prescription medications and some clothing, as well as any irreplaceable documents, photographs, or small heirloom items ready to pack into the vehicle and leave at a moment's notice. If you find out that you are in a mandatory order or an evacuation warning area, please recognize those fundamentals, and if you need to determine whether or not your address is within one of those areas, you can use the interactive map, which is located on the County of Santa Barbara's website. That's at www.countyofsb.org. I want to thank a large number of people today. Thanks to the mutual aid system, we have in excess of 150 law enforcement officers and deputies from the Tri-Counties and from the Los Angeles County area here as well. We are adequately staffed for evacuations or for repopulation efforts for the next few days. And we will continue to reevaluate our resources as needed through our next expected wind event, which is forecast for Wednesday and Thursday. In addition to preparing for potential evacuations and repopulation efforts, we are also busy patrolling the evacuation zones in order to provide security, and we are manning all road closures to make sure that unauthorized people do not enter the evacuated area. We want to thank all of the mutual aid support that we have received here, the agencies that have provided that support, and we are especially grateful for their efforts yesterday. This Tri-County area is always one that comes together, and this time we've actually had assistance, as I say, from Los Angeles County as well. So we want to say thank you to our law enforcement agency partners, the ones in Santa Barbara that include the Santa Barbara City Police Department, the Santa Barbara Probation Department, the Santa Maria Police Department, the Lompoc Police Department, the Guadalupe Police Department, UCSB Police Department, the District Attorney's Office investigators, and we also want to thank all of our staff, both sheriff's deputies and custody deputies who've been out there as well. In addition, we want to thank the San Luis Obispo County contingent, which came in last night and consisted of San Luis County sheriff's deputies, San Luis Obispo police officers, Atascadero, Pismo Beach, Grover Beach, Paso Robles, and Cuesta police officers as well. And then finally, the Los Angeles police contingent, which was led by the LA County Sheriff's Office, but was also comprised of members of the Glendale, Burbank, Monrovia, Inglewood, Pasadena, Manhattan Beach, Torrance, Redondo Beach, and San Fernando police departments. In addition to the officers, we want to thank the search and rescue team members from both Santa Barbara County and Ventura County for their tremendous efforts. And we especially want to thank our California National Guardsmen who have now become involved in this incident as well. We have leadership from the Channel Islands area and from Los Alamitos. Last night we had a unit from the Channel Islands area here, and today we have a unit from Sacramento, which is arriving, comprised of men and women from all parts of Northern California. They will help us staff road closures and provide security on the perimeter of the evacuation areas. And then last but certainly not least, we want to thank our counterparts in the California Highway Patrol for the tremendous job that they've done, also helping keep the area secure. And then I want to leave you today. I've kind of tried to single out a group of people each time I've been up here that has done a great job. And I want to single out the Sheriff Fire Air Support Unit today. These men are always putting their lives on the line in what they do, but especially so during this fire. And you may have seen last night, they conducted 13 water drops after dark and really put a lot of that front country flare-up fire that was close to Montecito, put it out. Did a tremendous job there, so thank you for their efforts.
Good afternoon. I am Cindy Ponce, the Santa Barbara, California Highway Patrol Captain. We are pleased to report that the 154 is currently open. We will close it in the morning again from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. for the ingress and egress of fire equipment at shift change. So please utilize the 101 as an alternate route in the morning. And we want to thank Caltrans for their extraordinary response and ability to get the freeway reopened after the tanker truck overturned northbound 101 at Turnpike. Yeah. Their ability to get the roadway repaved and cleaned up in 24 hours was nothing short of miraculous. They have been supporting our mission, and without their support, we would not have been able to be successful as we have been. So thank you to the men and women in Caltrans. We have also activated our special response team to assist in securing evacuated areas. So rest assured that we are doing everything we can to keep your property secure while you are evacuated. I want to thank the fine men and women of the California Highway Patrol who have continued to work tirelessly with no days off since this fire started. So thank you to them and their families for them being away and keeping things running at the house. To the Sheriff's Department for all their support. And last but not least, to our wonderful firefighters who have worked tirelessly to save homes and structures during this firefight. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the community for all your support. You guys have been wonderful, so thank you.
My name is Stacy Silva. I'm with Santa Barbara County Animal Services. Just wanted to update you all that we are currently housing about 1,700 evacuated animals from large to small. That is a testament to our community and their love for their animals, the fact that they bring them with them when they evacuate. At this time, most of our calls coming into the hotline have been for people still looking for resources to house their animals, as well as support in getting up to feed fish and other animals that may have been left behind. Our teams are busy working on the ground, and we have to thank the Santa Barbara Humane Society, Santa Barbara Equine Evac, the Santa Maria Valley Humane Society, and our dedicated staff. Our hotline number at 4332 is still being manned for anybody that needs assistance with any type of animal out there. As we are sitting here, we just received 4 disaster service workers from San Diego Humane Society that have been sent up to assist us with animal care. Please know that your animals are in really good hands while you guys are taking care of your needs. There is no need for you to rush back right away. We encourage you, once the evacuations are lifted, to get in, check out your property, ensure that your fence lines are secure, ensure that your property is okay, and then come on down to see us, and we will be happy to reunite you with your pets at absolutely no cost.
What we'll do now is we'll have a question and answer period. If you'd like to ask a question and you're in this section, please raise your hand. We'll take 3 from this section. Okay, and what about this section here? Anybody? Okay, so we have a couple of firefighters that will come around with a microphone. In addition to that, we have Ben from the Air Pollution Control Board, who is sitting up here in the front row in a blue shirt. Matthew from the American Red Cross, he's in a Red Cross vest. And we have Chief Nielsen from CAL FIRE, who is an expert in watershed emergency response. And if you have a question, you may direct it to them either now or at the breakout session. So the first person to raise their hand.
Given the way the fire is expanded yesterday, where are we at in the plans of the PACE planning?
And if I could have the speakers come up on stage, just to... Yeah, I'm not answering it.
I said I think that's mine. He says he's not answering it. Okay, yeah, you guys are right. All right, so here's what happened last night. Obviously, our PACE, our contingency was the Gibraltar Road and the lines we cut in the front of it. So obviously those lines are now affected by fire. The fire came to us in the Gibraltar area. So that is now our primary line, and we're holding it where the slop over is over that and the spot fires across it, and that's our primary line. So now today we have a new branch director who's been on one of the other branches holding the front country. Now he's the new contingency branch, and he's looking across the 154 to the west, and he's looking to the back country just in case something goes wrong and this starts to get big again. So right now we're at what was our contingency is now our primary line. We're going direct again. We're holding it right where it is, and that's our plan. Our primary attack is to keep it where it is. Our alternate attack is if it starts to move through that younger fuels, we're going to keep hitting it and try and stop it as soon as we can if we don't hold our current lines. We got 3 days of nice weather. I'm thinking we're going to be able to hold it. So that's our plan. Our alternate is to keep trying. In worst case scenario, or now our contingency, and it's not the worst case scenario, but our contingency now is the Windy Gap fuel break that we talked about, and you can see. Can you go out just a little bit? I think it's right there. I don't see mine, but you got it right here, right? And that's the one right just east of 154. You can see it from town. It's the one ridge in the whole front country that actually allows us to bring a dozer all the way down. So that's our contingency, and then the emergency plan is, of course, it gets really big. We're going to chase it wherever it goes. Okay? So we're doing a. We'd
like you just to stay up there.
Second question in this area.
Yeah, I noticed in past years, San Marcos High School was always an evacuation center, and it isn't this year. And at the end of Turnpike now, up by Tucker's Grove, it's a voluntary evacuation. Are you anticipating if the fire gets that far, the winds will come down and come all the way down to San Marcos High School?
I hope not. No, obviously this year and right now, we've been talking about it every day at our safety briefings in the morning. Fuels are burning hotter and releasing more energy. So nothing is unbelievable or unpredictable. I mean, nothing is safe for sure. But right now, we have it stopped. We're jumping on it. We're putting every effort to hold it right where it is. And on Wednesday, we're having an event coming up. But we think we can get it cool enough by Wednesday that it holds. And that is our current plan, and that's what we're putting every effort into. We also, not every effort, again, I keep saying things wrong. We still have people working on those contingencies, and we're going west if we need to. I don't imagine it's going to come all the way down here. 192 is our first break-even point on the south edge. And we generally we'll be able to hold that. But, of course, yesterday we were lucky to hold 192 with those winds as strong as they were. Okay?
Anybody else in this section? One in the back.
So I was wondering about air quality here, like just up Turnpike. I mean, I'm wondering if it doesn't feel, healthy to me right now. So,
hi, I'm Ben Ellenberger with the Santa Barbara County Air Pollution Control District. Today, actually, the air quality was better than we expected. For most of the northern part of the county, it was moderate. In Santa Barbara and Carpinteria, we'd characterize the air quality as unhealthy for sensitive groups. So it's not healthy, but it's better than what we had expected. So generally, healthy people may not feel effects, but a lot of people, if you have underlying health conditions, especially young people or the elderly, even with the conditions that we're seeing right now, could be experiencing health effects.
Anybody here in the middle section? Up front?
Last night at 5:43 p.m., I was on the bike trail looking for my cat, and it had turned dark. This is between Turnpike at the end, in between Pointe Drive. And I was walking towards Pointe Drive, and I got to Atascadero Bridge. And I went a little bit to the left of Atascadero Bridge, and the heat all of a sudden turned to be about like 115 degrees. And I'm thinking, this is really weird. So I called the sheriff's department. I spoke to dispatch at 5:43, and they asked me if I smelled smoke or saw flames, and I said no. So I crossed the bridge, and I turned on my mag light after I crossed the bridge on the other side by the golf course, and there were about 30 to 40 coals burning underneath the bridge, glowing. So I call the sheriff's department back, and I get a male dispatcher, and I tell him what's going on, and then the female dispatcher picks up, and she says, okay, we'll send somebody out. And then nobody came out. So I waited, and at 6:09, I decided to call 911. So I believe it's the CHP that answers 911. And the dispatcher says, what are you reporting? And I said, I believe there's a problem. I believe there's a fire starting. And she says, well, where is this at? And I explained it to her. And she says, so this is more like a warming fire. And I said, so what are you telling me? Leaves were blowing. If it's a homeless person having a warming fire, what happens if a leaf hits this warming fire? What if it hits one of these coals, if it's a homeless person? So, plus you had this tanker fire, which just spilled 5,000 gallons of gasoline, did they clean all the way down to this creek, is my question. So basically, the call never really got to the fire department. If anybody has been on that bike trail and has seen the dead trees and brush, I think this is something that needs to be addressed. And I personally got out this morning and knocked on doors from people that live directly behind Atascadero Creek and let them know that there were burning coals underneath that bridge. So that's why I'm spending my time here, to let you know that the Sheriff's Department did nothing for me, that 911 did nothing for me, and I know all of you guys were busy. But I'm telling you that this is an area that can set off Hidden Hills, Hope Branch, and a whole nother area. And if there's people down there using hot coals to keep themselves warm, maybe they're professionals about how to stay warm. But you know what? This is a whole other area that needs to be addressed. And that's all I have to say.
All right, well, ma'am, I don't know anything about the incident that you're describing other than what you've just said, but we will get together with you afterwards and get some information, and we will look into what happened. I can't tell you or even speculate why nobody responded immediately, but we'll certainly look into it. Thank you.
Anybody else in the middle section?
I haven't been able to smell smoke for like a few days or a week even, and I was wondering if it's possible to become like desensitized to the smell. And I'm not really like vigilant on wearing a mask anymore because I can't smell it.
The best way to look and see what concentrations are in the air is to go to our website. It's ourair.org. We're posting today's air quality, and you can look for the monitoring station in your area. Really, with smoke impacts, the main pollutant that we're looking at are the very small particulates called PM2.5. And so if you look at ourair.org and today's air quality, that'll give you a sense of what the concentrations are in your area.
One more question in the middle. Young lady with the hat right on the aisle there. Thank you.
I understand that there's more than 8,500 people helping us, and I'm interested in, I haven't heard on the news anything about the organizational and command structure that is currently in place to keep it from being total chaos. How do you organize so many volunteers and get them to the right places?
That is an absolute great question. We often forget the organization that goes behind the overall management of an incident, and there's incredible coordination. For this incident, 2 incident management teams were brought in to coordinate those efforts. CAL FIRE Team 4 is an established team of men and women that work within CAL FIRE and agencies that are organized to come together under a disaster. And the second team was our team, California National Team 4. We're one of the 16 U.S. national teams. And we were able to combine the leadership of the 2 teams in every functional area, command general staff areas, to effectively manage this. And it's close coordination with all of our cooperators. So we hear the law enforcement components. We know the fire agencies that were here. The team comes together to organize that, to develop the tactical plan that's implemented every operational period, the whole structure behind that to support all the young men and women in the emergency service that are actively engaged on the fire, the technical planning side from scientists, meteorologists, our technical fire behavior analysts that allows tools for our folks to better fight the fire, the whole information section. I think we have 72 information officers to make sure we're getting proper information. Liaisons, all the cooperating agencies that are affected, utilities, local agriculture, the sheriffs, law enforcement, they have a group that comes together to make sure we're meeting all those other needs that are affected by the incident. And then finally the finance section, because there's bills that have to be paid, and how do we have agreements to use the fairground or the campground at Kachuma. So the two teams have come together to organize, and we're still engaged together, and we'll stay together until we take a look at what the incident level of management is needed. They'll be coordinating with all the agencies, but we've been together for over 2 weeks, and we'll continue that operation.
Anybody over here in the last section? Have a young lady on the aisle.
Hello, thank you so much for your service. I wanted to know if somebody could address what makes an area contained. What are you looking for to change it from the red line to the black line, basically?
Okay. What we're looking at is the first thing we want to do when we're fighting a wildland fire is we want to remove the fuel from the edge of the fire. So, all right, let me start again. We cool the fire, we remove the fuel, one of the two ways to put it out. So we use hoses with water to cool the fire, or aircraft to cool it, and then when it's cool enough that we can, we'll go in there and we'll construct line around the edge of the fire. This fire is contained by roads, by dozer lines, by hand line that's been constructed, and we are still constructing hand line around spot fires. So once we get a line contained around that where we have removed the fuel between the burned area and the green area that hasn't burned, we have an actual fire line, then we mop up and continue to put out any heat that's still in the heated area, in the burn area, the scar. And once that's cool enough that we feel confident it's not going to come back to life, that's when we call it contained and we blacken the line. And full control of the fire is when we finally are done patrolling it and we're absolutely certain it's out. That takes a little longer. Okay?
Anybody else in this section over here? Thank you very much for attending our community meeting today. I'd like to thank the viewers at home who are watching this via live stream on Twitter and Facebook, and we'll stay here for as long as need be in order to answer your questions. This meeting will take place again tomorrow at 4 o'clock for those that are interested. Thank you.